If you think every story about infidelity plays out the same, let me tell you, you dead wrong. This whole mess started like 1,000 others, but where it went, that blew past my worst nightmares. To really get it, I have to rewind a bit. Hannah and I had been married for 8 years. We lived in a nice, quiet suburb in New Jersey, the kind of place with good schools and manicured lawns. We had 2 great kids, Ava and Owen, and we loved them to death, but that never slowed down our careers. Hannah had become a seriously in-demand interior designer with clients in Manhattan, and I built my landscaping company from the ground up, one back-breaking summer at a time. On the surface, we were the picture-perfect American family, the supportive couple, the professional success, the occasional date night at a decent restaurant. From the outside, looking at our colonial-style house and the kids' bikes in the driveway, you'd never guess that the foundation was cracking. It started subtly. First, Hannah began staying late at the office. She'd call, exhausted, blaming it on a huge project for a new, wealthy client. The excuses were always plausible. The general contractor was a flake, the custom marble from Italy was stuck in customs, the client kept changing their mind on the color palette. It never even occurred to me to doubt her. Hannah was a perfectionist. Her work was her life. Then came the travel. The client wants to meet in person to tour the showrooms in Soho, she'd say over breakfast, barely looking up from her coffee. And I bought it. Her job always involved some travel. But the overnight trips started piling up, right as the temperature between us dropped to freezing. We barely had dinner together anymore. Real conversations were extinct, and intimacy, that was a distant memory. We were becoming roommates who co-signed a mortgage. Still, I could not bring myself to confront her. Was this my fault? Was the stress of running my own business, of making payroll every 2 weeks, making me distant? Maybe I was just projecting, seeing ghosts where there were none. Hannah was my everything. The idea that she could betray me felt like something out of a different reality. My doubts finally came to a head last weekend. Hannah was due back from a sourcing trip, but when I pulled my Ford F-150 into the driveway after a long day, she was not there. Instead, there was a stranger leaning against the porch railing of our home. She could not have been more than 19, maybe 20, dressed in ripped jeans and a Rutgers hoodie, but she held herself with this unnerving confidence. She was scrolling through her phone, and when she saw me, she looked up slowly, a smirk playing on her lips. It was the kind of smirk that said, "I am about to detonate your life." "You looking for your wife?" she asked, and her voice coiled in my gut. How did she know about Hannah? Why was she here at my house? "Yeah," I managed, my voice tight. "Who are you?" Instead of answering, she pulled a slim DVD case from her tote bag and held it out to me. The way she offered it, you'd think it was a live grenade. "Give this to Hannah," she said, that smirk widening. "She'll know what to do with it." I stared at the cheap plastic case. Scrawled across the front in Sharpie were 2 names, Lindsay, and some guy's name I did not recognize. I had a million questions, but the girl just turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, clutching a bomb. I did not waste a second. The moment I was inside, I dug out the old Blu-ray player from the back of the media cabinet and slid the disc in. What I saw made the air leave my lungs. My thoughts shattered. What the hell had I just walked into? I met Hannah my senior year of college. I was the quiet guy, buried in landscape architecture textbooks, and she was the vibrant, ambitious design student a year below me. We met at some mixer our departments threw together. My buddies had to practically drag me there, but the second Hannah walked in, the entire room seemed to orbit around her. She had this magnetic pull. By some miracle, we ended up talking by the keg. She drove the conversation with an easy, flirty confidence, but there was substance there, too. She had this way of looking at you, a half smile, that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. A week later, I asked her out. To my shock, she said yes. For years later, we were married. We both had our feet under us professionally. I started my landscaping business with a couple of guys, and she landed a junior designer position at a high-end firm in Soho. Our lives were a blur of work, but we made it work. We put off having kids, wanting to travel and save up for a down payment on a house first. But life had other plans. 3 years into our marriage, Hannah was pregnant. I was terrified. My business was still finding its footing. I was not sure I was ready to be a father. But the moment they placed our daughter, Ava, in my arms, all that fear just melted away. I saw Hannah's eyes and my own stubborn chin, and I was done for. 2 years later, our son Owen arrived. He was the calm, thoughtful one, a little more like me. Watching them grow up has been the one pure joy in my life. Even now, at 7, Ava fills our fridge with her incredible drawings, and 5-year-old Owen builds entire cities with his Legos and Tonka trucks. They the kind of kids that make you think, just for a second, that you doing everything right. As for me, I've always been the steady one. I am not the life of the party like Hannah, but I am the guy who puts his head down and gets the work done. I am the one who provides. I sacrificed to make sure my family never had to worry. Vacations to Florida for spring break? Hannah planned them. I worked the extra weekends to pay for them. That expensive restoration hardware couch she had to have? Her taste, my money. I never resented it. Seeing her happy made me happy. At least it used to. But now, standing in the living room, the empty blue screen of our Samsung TV glaring back at me, I felt something inside me break. The video left no room for interpretation. Hannah had not just cheated on me. She had a full-blown romantic getaway with a man I recognized. Her client. Older, richer, oozing that easy confidence that comes with a 7-figure portfolio. The video was a highlight reel of their affair. Laughing over wine at a waterfront restaurant. Walking hand in hand on a beach, his fingers tangled in hers. And then, the images I'll never be able to unsee. Burned into my brain forever. But the real gut punch was not just the sex. It was the injustice. I'd given up everything for her. For our family. Working weekends, missing out on my own hobbies, grinding through 100-degree Jersey summers while she was in air-conditioned showrooms. And for what? So she could build a separate life behind my back? The thing that finally shattered me was a single detail in the video. Around her neck was the birthstone necklace I'd given her for our last anniversary. 1 stone for Ava, 1 for Owen. This was not just a betrayal. It was a desecration. A mockery of everything I'd built my life on. My mind raced through the years of ignored red flags. The times I'd chosen to trust her instead of my own gut. My thoughts turned to Ava and Owen. How would this fallout land on them? How could their mother's lies detonate the stable world I had worked so damn hard to build for them? Cold, hard anger washed over me. I was not going to be the guy who just rolled over and took it. She was not going to burn our family to the ground and just walk away from the ashes. I grabbed my iPhone and took pictures of the disc and the case. Then I ripped the video file onto my laptop and uploaded it to a secure, private folder in my Google Drive. I did not have a full plan yet, but one thing was crystal clear. Hannah was going to answer for this. And that girl on my porch with that smug look on her face. She was a part of this too. I was going to find her. I was going to find out everything. That night, I could not even look at Hannah when she got home. I could not stand to be in the same room, to breathe the same air. I paced the house for hours after she went to sleep. The gallery wall of family photos, the faded handprint turkeys Ava had made in kindergarten, the crate and barrel couch where we used to binge-watch shows together. It was not a home anymore. It was a crime scene. The next morning, I did not blow up. Not yet. I was going to play the long game. I was going to set a trap. I started small, over coffee. How was the trip? I asked, trying to sound casual as I scrolled through emails on my phone. Hannah hesitated for just a fraction of a second, but I saw it. Then she recovered, pouring herself a coffee. Ugh, total headache. The client is such a perfectionist, it's draining. The same client from the video. My heart started hammering against my ribs, but I kept my voice even. What kind of perfectionist? I asked, looking up. Demanding or charming? Her eyes flickered towards me, sharp and suspicious. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing? I shrugged. letting a small, empty smile play on my lips. Just making conversation. I knew she felt it, the subtle shift in the air. But I was not going to show my hand. Not yet. Over the next few days, I became a detective in my own home. I waited until I heard the shower turn on. Then I walked over to her nightstand and picked up her iPhone. The passcode had not changed. It was still our anniversary. A rookie mistake, I thought with a fresh wave of bitterness. Inside, I found exactly what I was expecting. And so much more. The text messages were sickening. He called her his muse, his light. She called him pet names she had not used for me in years. Every sweetheart and my love was another twist of the knife. But one exchange burned itself into my memory. Him, your husband does not suspect a thing? Her, no. He is too busy playing the provider. Clueless. And there it was. It was not that I was distant. It was not that I'd done something wrong. It was that I'd made her life so damn comfortable. She'd gotten bored. I shouldered every burden so she would not have to, and she saw it not as a partnership, but as a given. It gave her the freedom to chase a cheap thrill with the first guy who whispered exciting bullshit in her ear and dangled shiny things in front of her. But I still was not ready to blow everything up. Not yet. I kept digging into our finances online and found something that turned my blood to ice. This was not just an affair. Hannah had funneled tens of thousands of dollars from our joint savings account to him. Wire transfers for his projects. She'd even used our money to help him with the down payment on a vacation house in the Poconos. She was stealing. Not from me. From our kids. From Ava and Owen. In that instant, a switch flipped. This was no longer about a broken heart. This was betrayal on a level I could not have imagined. I started my preparations. I took screenshots of every text, downloaded every bank statement, and saved the video file in 3 separate locations. Then I called my friend Dave. I need a divorce lawyer, I said, my voice flat. Someone who would not just get the job done, but will scorch the earth. You need Naomi, he said without hesitation. She is not a lawyer. She is a shark. Naomi was exactly as advertised. Sharp, confident, and completely unfazed by my story. We sat in her sleek Morristown office as we went over the options. The divorce proceedings, the custody battle, the division of assets. I want it all, I said, my voice cold and hard. The house, full custody, everything. She looked over the evidence I'd emailed her, her expression unreadable. Then she looked up at me and gave a slight, decisive nod. You have the leverage, she said. But if you want to land a knockout blow, you have to choose the perfect moment to strike. We made a plan. When I got home that night, phase 2 began. I did not say a word. I played the part of the clueless provider husband. I smiled, asked about her day, and talked about a new contract I'd landed. Then I offered her an out. Hey, why do not you have a girls' night on Friday? Go out with your friends. Avi got the kids. She jumped at the chance a little too quickly. She had no idea that as she was getting ready, I slipped a tiny Apple AirTag under the passenger seat of her Lexus SUV. When she pulled out of the driveway, I gave her a 20-minute head start, then followed. The tracker led me straight to an expensive-looking Italian restaurant about a half-hour away. I parked across the street, my phone's camera ready. And there she was, getting out of her car. And there he was, walking to greet her. They did not just meet. They embraced, holding hands as they walked inside. I took the pictures. An hour later, they came out, and right there, in front of his Audi, they kissed. I got that shot too. Then they got in his car and drove off toward his condo. When I got home, the anger was a clean, cold thing. Hannah had just signed her own death warrant. The main event, however, I saved for the next morning. While Hannah was out running errands, I put the video file on a new thumb drive. I slipped it into a small padded envelope and sent it via messenger to his wife. Yes, he was married too. The note was simple. Mrs. Thompson, I thought you might want to see how your husband really spends his business trips. A concerned husband. The second thumb drive went to the managing partner at Hannah's design firm. When Hannah got home that evening, The first domino had already been tipped. She was humming, thinking her life was perfect, completely oblivious that her world was already beginning to burn. The next morning, I just waited. The first explosion happened at breakfast. Hannah was stirring her coffee when her iPhone buzzed on the granite countertop. The name Marcus flashed on the screen. She froze, shot a nervous glance at me, and answered cautiously. "Hey!" I could not hear his side of it, but I watched the color drain from her face. Her knuckles went white around her coffee mug. "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled. "Who would have sent that?" I pretended to be absorbed in an article on my iPad, but inside, a cold satisfaction was spreading through my chest. She started pacing the kitchen, her voice getting higher. "No, that's impossible. No one knew, he would not." Then she stopped dead. Her eyes locked on me for a split second. I saw the gear turn, the horrifying possibility dawn on her. But she immediately looked away, clutched the phone to her ear, and retreated to our bedroom, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. I let her stew in it, let her deal with the fallout from her lover. But the real show was about to start. The next blow landed that afternoon. The doorbell rang and Hannah, who had just emerged from the bedroom looking pale and ragged, flinched like a gunshot had gone off. I had to fight to keep a smirk off my face. I walked to the front door. Standing on our porch was a woman in her late 40s, impeccably dressed in a cashmere coat, but her face was a mask of cold fury. I recognized her instantly from Marcus's Instagram. It was his wife, Michelle. "I need to speak to your wife," she said, her voice like ice, and pushed past me into the foyer without waiting for an invitation. I turned to see Hannah frozen at the top of the stairs, her face a canvas of pure horror. "Why do not you explain this to me?" Michelle said, her voice echoing in the 2-story entry as she held up a manila envelope. "Or should I have your husband do it?" I leaned against the doorframe, folding my arms. "Is something wrong?" I asked, my voice dripping with false concern. Hannah was coming down the stairs now, her legs unsteady. She looked like she was about to collapse. "Michelle, I do not know what. Do not you dare lie to me." Michelle snapped, her voice cracking with rage. "You blew up my home, my family. For what? So you could play the part of the poor, neglected wife? You did not just sleep with my husband, you were stealing from us." Hannah staggered back as if she'd been struck, her mouth opening and closing with no sound coming out. Michelle did not give her an inch. "I know everything now," she spat, shoving the envelope into Hannah's hands. "And do not for a second think you getting away with this." I did not move. I just watched as Michelle spun on her heel and walked out, slamming the solid oak door so hard the windows rattled. Hannah stood frozen in the middle of the foyer, clutching the envelope like it was ticking. Her lips trembled, her eyes wide with a terror that was finally, truly dawning. "Caleb, I can explain," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I let the silence hang in the air for a long, cold moment. Then, in a voice devoid of any emotion I'd ever felt before, I said, "Can you? Because from where I am standing, it looks like you've been lying about everything. It got out of control," she stammered, tears finally starting to fall. "Out of control?" I repeated, the sound of my own voice surprising me as it rose, sharp and full of a rage I did not know I possessed. "Do you really think that's an excuse? Do you have any idea what you have done? To me? To Ava and Owen?" She sobbed harder, a broken, pathetic sound, but it did not touch me. The part of me that would have cared was dead and gone. "You want to know how I found out, Hannah?" I asked, taking a step toward her. "Your boyfriend's daughter. She brought me a DVD. Her head snapped up, her face a mask of disbelief and horror. "That's right, a DVD. She came right to our front door while you were off playing house with her father." The fear in her eyes was pure. "Oh my God," she whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. "Exactly," I said, my voice like ice. "And you know what else? Everyone knows now. His wife, your bosses, the whole world you cared so much about. There's no spinning this, Hannah. You do not get to just walk away clean. She seemed to collapse in on herself, sinking onto the bottom step of the staircase and burying her face in her hands. For the first time in a very long time, she looked completely and utterly broken. She was finally seeing the full scope of the wreckage. But it was far too late for regrets. The final stage of my plan was already in motion. Naomi had the divorce papers drawn up, and they were ironclad. Every screenshot, every bank transfer, every frame of that video was an exhibit. I was not leaving a single crack for her to slip through. I was filing for sole physical custody of the children and petitioning for the house and the majority of our assets. She had lit the match, but I was not going to let her drag me or my kids down into the fire with her. The consequences were swifter and more brutal than even I had anticipated. Marcus, of course, vanished. Total radio silence. Michelle filed for divorce that same day and immediately started torching Hannah's reputation to their entire social circle. The world of charity galas and upscale dinner parties they de-inhabited became a swamp of gossip, and Hannah's name was mud. The whispers even reached Ava and Owen's private school. The other moms, the ones who used to greet her with air kisses at drop-off, now averted their eyes, pretending to be on their phones. Then came the final, career-ending blow. Her firm did not just distance themselves. They fired her. It was not just the affair. It was the financials. They discovered she'd been expensing personal travel and using the company account to fund her trips with Marcus. It was not just an ethics violation. It was embezzlement. It was a felony. I was sitting in the living room when the call came from her managing partner. I watched her face cycle from denial to panic. "No, please, you do not understand," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "This is a personal matter. It has nothing to do with my work." A few seconds later, she hung up, staring blankly at the wall. She had lost everything. I remained silent. No yelling, no "I told you so." Just a heavy, suffocating silence that I knew was scarier to her than any shouting match. "It was a mistake, Caleb," she finally whispered, the words choked by sobs. "I was lost, but I can fix this. Please, for the kids." That's when my silence broke. "For the kids?" I asked, my voice dripping with contempt. "You mean the same kids you were stealing from to pay for your boyfriend's vacation house? Do not you dare hide behind them now." The tears flowed freely, but I felt nothing. The love I once had for her was a crater, cold and empty. And then the doorbell rang again. It was a process server. When he handed her the thick envelope containing the divorce papers, Hannah finally understood. It was over. She stormed back into the living room, clutching the documents, her knuckles white. Her voice was a ragged mix of fury and despair. "You taking everything," she choked out, her eyes wild with terror. "The house, the money, the kids. You see not do this to me." I looked up from my laptop, meeting her gaze directly. My voice was calm, cold, and final. "I can, and I will." Tears streamed down her face. "You punishing me," she whispered. "I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I do not deserve to lose everything." I stood up slowly, the rage I had kept locked down for weeks finally boiling over. "You do not deserve it?" My voice was louder now, echoing in the quiet house. "You deserve this and more, Hannah. You deserve to feel every ounce of the pain you've caused." She flinched, but I was past the point of caring. "You lied. You stole. You betrayed every single thing we built together. And now you want my sympathy? No. You get exactly what you gave us. Nothing." She collapsed into an armchair, sobbing hysterically. But there was no satisfaction in it for me. Just emptiness. The woman I married was gone. The legal battle was not a battle at all. It was a surrender. With the mountain of evidence I had, the judge did not hesitate. I was granted sole physical custody of Ava and Owen. She was given supervised visitation twice a month. The house, the savings, the retirement accounts, it all went to me. The first thing I did was find a good child therapist. The kids were confused and hurting, and I was determined to keep their mother's choices from becoming their lifelong trauma. I did not give them the sordid details, just what they needed to know. Mommy made some bad choices, and she needs to live somewhere else for a while so she can fix them. I told them one night, hugging them both tight in Owen's bed. But I am always going to be here for you, no matter what. Hannah moved into a small, one-bedroom apartment on the other side of the county. I heard through the grapevine that she tried reaching out to old friends, but no one wanted anything to do with her. She had burned every bridge. A few months passed. One crisp fall afternoon, I was in the backyard, watching Ava and Owen chase each other through the piles of leaves, their laughter echoing in the quiet air. They seemed happy, truly happy, for the first time in a long time. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Naomi. Congratulations. The divorce was finalized by the judge this morning. It's officially over. I stared at the screen, letting the words sink in. This chapter of my life was closed. Hannah had destroyed our family, but she had not destroyed me. I had survived. And now I had a new purpose. To build a new life. For me. For my kids. I did not need revenge anymore. The truth and the chance to move on was more than enough. And that's where our story for today ends. Thanks for sticking with it. If you found value in this, do not forget to hit that like button and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next one.